And then I became obsessed with the trans YouTubers. Following their journeys. Like, if somebody had a YouTube where they had been posting, like, regular updates for, like, 2 or 3 years, I would binge watch, like, everything I could find on their channel in one day. Just to see how they could start out with a body kind of similar to mine and end with a body that was, like, buff and flat and, I don't know. I think I realized I was different. At that time, I thought of myself as gay, even though I didn't realize I was homosexual. I thought I was just trans. But I wanted to see those people be happy because it gave me, like, a hope that one day I would be happy. So having that connection with people online was, like, my only interpersonal relationship at that point that I felt valued me. It became an issue of them being supportive and them demonizing my parents to the point where I didn't see my biological family as my family anymore, and I saw trans people as my family. So they kind of preyed on the actual abuse to separate me from my family, I guess. So by the time I was like 15, 16, I would spend as much time as possible with my, like, trans friends, like, in, there's, like, these LGBT youth groups, and, LGBT, like, youth spaces. I don't know what you call them, but they were just open all the time, so we'd go hang out there and spend as little time as possible with my family because I thought they basically didn't know me. They were strangers to me. They didn't understand me. And that's a really big part of the queer cult, is to make you feel like you're isolated from everyone who is not also queer. So then after that, when it becomes an issue of transition, like, I got a letter from my therapist when I was 17 to transition to get hormones, and I went to the doctor to get them, but I realized, like, I couldn't take them because obviously my parents would realize something was up, obviously. So people were, like, offering, like, oh, if you start a GoFundMe, I'll give you money so you can get your own apartment, so you can live by yourself, so you can transition. Or there was another time, I'll just say this person's name, Sophia Banks, offered me to, like, crash on her couch once because I had like, a big fight with my family. I remember the specific event. I had, like, texted all of my friends from high school, like, oh, can I have a sleepover? But it was weird because it was a Thursday night, and, like, you don't sleep over at people's houses on a Thursday night. And then she, like, DM'd me on Twitter and was like, oh, if your home situation was that bad, I have a place for you. Which, again, of course that's a nice thing to do for somebody who's unsafe. But at the end of the day, what happens is you're, like, taking these children into your environment, and then you're the one who's, like, being the parent. So if you're the one who's also like, perpetuating ideas of, like, kink and, like, porn culture and, like, the subjugation of females, that's really fucked up for that kid. So yeah, that was part of the cult mentality. From there I found a lot of, like, lesbian feminists. I found dysphoric females who were not trans for the first time in my life. And then just lots of gender non-conforming females. And I followed all of them on Tumblr, and like most young people, Tumblr was, like, something I spent many hours a day on. And this time, instead of seeing, like, gifs of porn, or seeing, like, pictures of kink, I saw, like, period-positive menstruation art, and I saw, like, photographs of, like, lesbian couples cuddling. Like, all this stuff, I literally, before I would have thought, this triggers me, I need to avoid this. But I think I had just internalized a bit the idea that that triggers trans women, so it's not allowed. Honestly, my period has always been an issue for me with dysphoria, if you read my Medium piece about it. So, and, like, my chest has been an issue of dysphoria, so it was triggering for me a bit, my dysphoria, but it was kind of like exposure therapy. I saw it every day, all day, on Tumblr. I just scrolled past it, got used to it, and eventually I could actually, like, appreciate the artisticness, or whatever the the point the person who posted it was trying to get across without being, like, feeling anxiety about my body. And it helped me to see other women as, like, okay and beautiful without being disgusted about my own body, which was a big step for me to seeing my own body as female and not actually disgusting and horrible. So once that happened, I realized, holy shit, the trans community had done the opposite to me. They had completely indoctrinated me with, like, sex-positive stuff that was just, like, not healthy for a young, growing person. And then they had, like, shamed me from speaking about my periods because it was triggering to trans women. They had basically brainwashed me into self-censoring myself. Or that doesn't make sense. Into self-censoring. And I realized, like, I hadn't been having my own thoughts. Like, the only reason I had thought before that I was pansexual, or the only reason I thought I was gay before, was because of the fantasy of what I wanted my romantic life to look like, not because of my actual desires. So, when I was 18, I finally started questioning all this stuff, because I had gender critical feminists on Tumblr asking these questions. I finally could ask these questions myself.